Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? It's been a while. Sorry for the absence. We lost one of the fellow Jato junkies. It's been a bit tough. But anyways, we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna start softly. One of the last requests that I had from somebody was they wanted to know how I prep and what I use to paint my custom parts or custom painted parts for my Jatos. A couple of them are hydro dipped, like the Flag one, the Freedom Jato, Benjamin Jato. Those are hydro dipped. But the ones that are just solid colors, those are prepped and painted by myself. I've got a few. So let's get into that. One of the things you want to do is prep. But one of the most important parts of the prep is making sure there's no dirt, no grease, no oils from your fingers. You got to make sure you get that clean. If it's too smooth, you may have to rough it up a little bit, but you want to be real careful when you rough it up, because if you scratch it and rough it too deep, it will show through the paint, or it will take you a lot longer to build up the layers to make it smooth. So I generally use a really light emery cloth, 320, if I have to, 220. I also have a much lighter than that is more of a buffing emery cloth that I generally use for my metals, crankshafts or things of that nature, if I'm trying to smooth those back out or whatnot. So if I need to use the emery cloths, just kind of like rough it up a little bit, but like I said, be careful. And for the most part, I use the same thing I've been preaching for days. 91% isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Always use the highest percentage you can get. I recommend 91% minimum. So that's what I use. And I use a good amount. I'll clean them several times using a spray bottle and rags. And then, just to make sure I get all the lint off, all that kind of stuff, I'll either use canned air, blow them off, sometimes. But for the most part, I use my little air compressor and I blow them off. Make sure I have all the debris off of them. You don't always have to, but Dawn dish soap and hot water does a great job at cutting grease and oil. If you've got grease and oil on them, it does a great job. Some of the cheaper toothbrushes you can get at whatever store is around is a very viable option. But prep and cleaning. And after you've got them clean to a certain point, don't touch them with your fingers, because you'll have problems. Put on some gloves, hang them from a wire, whatever you have to do, just don't touch them with your fingers, because you're basically defeating the purpose. So, and then some of the plastics that I paint, I use a universal bonding primer, which sounds weird, especially when you use like a paint and primer in one, whatever. But like a bonding primer is different. I prefer Rust-Oleum when I'm painting my cars or parts for my cars. I prefer the Rust-Oleum brand. It's really hardy, it's flexible, it adheres extremely well. And that's without even using this most of the time. But universal bonding primer, sometimes it's a necessary. Sometimes you need to. And then, like I said, I pretty much use Rust-Oleum, and I get a paint and primer in one. Try to stick with the 2 times coverage, and slow and steady. You want to go slow and steady. Light coats, over and over and over. Light coats. Flip it over, do it from another angle, and just make sure you go real easy. If not, you'll run. We all know that sucks. When paint runs, it sucks. It looks like crap. I personally take so much time that, a set of control arms could take me a week just to get properly covered and to my liking. The next part of that, though, is dry time. Try to have patience when it comes to your dry time, because, the can says 24 whatever hours and it's cured, 48 hours it's cured. But when you're talking about plastic and shit, that's not necessarily the case, especially if the temperature outside or wherever you're doing it isn't necessarily a type of warm. So I spend a couple days prepping. I spend about a week coating, and then I will let them sit and bake and cure for about a week, at least a week. And within that curing week, I try to introduce them to a type of heat. So if it's wintertime, I'll turn on the heater. I'll put the heater real close to it. If it's summertime, take them outside, let the sun cook it, bake it, and let it harden. If you don't do that, when you touch the parts to put them together or put them on the car, the paint will still be so soft that you'll leave like fingerprints and smudges in them. And then, like, what was the point of painting them to make them look good? Because then they just look like crap. So have some patience. Get you a good paint. I recommend Rust-Oleum. I've painted 4, 5, 6 cars in several different colors, a lot of different parts, tracks of stock parts, RPM parts, and then some. And as long as I follow the process in which I do it and have patience, I don't leave smudges, and the cars come out looking amazing. So that's how I do it. That's how I paint my cars when I do a customization or things like that, or if I do it for somebody else. That's my process. One of the most important parts is prep, and then patience. Make sure you're taking your time when you're coating it. Don't get overzealous. And then to get the ultimate good look over the whole process, or out of the whole process, patience and cure time. I've been impatient once and it looked like shit, so I ended up tearing it apart and redoing it. And then that's when I really learned, like, cure time. Let it cure for a week. If it's colder and you can't really introduce it to a good amount of like heat for baking, then maybe go a little longer, but cure time. Make sure you let it cure so that when you touch it, you're not smudging it or putting fingerprints in it and things like that. And like I said, 91% alcohol. Do it a couple times. Make sure you get it dry, blow it off, canned air compressor, and you'll be good. I highly recommend Rust-Oleum products. That's been my go-to from day one, and it hasn't let me down once. Of course, it's not going to be bulletproof. If you crash, it's probably going to chip some off, but the best part about it is it takes a pretty good hit to chip some off. But also, since it is on plastic, you can take that same 91% alcohol, or even like a rag with acetone, but you gotta be really easy with the acetone because you'll mess up some of the plastic. if you go too hard on it. But acetone and the 91% alcohol, and you can pretty much strip all that paint back off of there and repaint it and have it looking good again. So the Rust-Oleum spray paint is not invincible for the fuel. If you spill fuel on it, it's gonna mess it up, obviously. But it has to be a type of chemical that is gonna mess it up like that. It's resistant to a point, but it's gonna mess it up for sure. So just be careful with your fuels. And after it's cured, even the alcohol, when it comes to cleaning, you might want to stick to something less I forget the word, but yeah, stick to something that's less, you know, I guess I could try a lower percent alcohol, but like I said, I just wanted to make this quick little video and explain how I kind of do it. I use little pieces of wire to hang my parts. I paint it with that and let it set and dry. When it's dry, after, you know, however many hours or time, how much time, I recoat it, and I recoat till I feel it's perfect or to my liking, which has been several different time periods. I couldn't tell you a specific time period as far as coating. You just have to kind of feel it and figure it out. But 91% alcohol for prep. Make sure you blow it off, get all the lint off. Grease and oil free. And if you need to, use the adhering primer or bonding primer. And I generally buy the Rust-Oleum 2 times coverage and paint and primer in one. And like I said, it's done me right every time. It holds up real well, and it comes out looking real good. So let me know what you think. Like, share, and follow. See you soon.